December 2013 was a record tourist season for South Africa. It also saw 25,000 hectares of the iSimangaliso Wetland Park being reopened to the public. The Dukuduku Gate on the western shore is in line with the park's vision to become a world-class site. This section was once only accessible to concession operators in the area, but after a period of rehabilitation, the land was restored to its natural wonder. iSimangaliso is about 332,000 hectares. This covers 9% of South Africa's coastline, from Mapelane in the south to Kosi Bay on the Mozambique border in the north, and inland where you will find Mkuze Game Reserve. This UNESCO World Heritage Site contains 3 major lake systems, 8 interlinking ecosystems, 700-year-old fishing traditions, most of South Africa's remaining swamp forests, Africa's largest estuarine system, 526 bird species, and 25,000-year-old coastal dunes, amongst the highest in the world. At the newly opened Western Shore, visitors have some excellent wildlife viewing opportunities. The magnificent beauty of the area, coupled with the reintroduction of indigenous wildlife, is set to make this a popular spot with photographers. Even if you have visited this incredible part of South Africa, seeing the western section is a reason to return.
Part of the iSimangaliso Wetland Park, linked on the northwestern boundary, is the Mkuze Game Reserve, which after 44 years is now home to lions once again.
The iSimangaliso Wetland Park is a large natural heritage site made up of different components. The Mkuze Game Reserve is a popular safari park within the Greater Wetland. About 300 kilometers from the city of Durban, the park is remotely located on the western side of iSimangaliso. Here, giraffe, zebra and buffalo are among the wildlife that roam freely on the 40,000-hectare reserve. With a road network that covers over 100 kilometers of that area, there are some great self-drive trails for visitors to discover. The astonishing array of diverse habitats, from the slopes of the Lebombo Mountains to broad expanses of savanna plains, woodlands, forests and swamps, all provide a very unique and different scene for spotting wildlife. The diversity of the park is undeniable. Even former President Nelson Mandela made mention of the rarity of this natural wonder, saying iSimangaliso must be the only place on the globe where the world's oldest land mammal and the biggest terrestrial mammal share an ecosystem with the world's oldest fish and the world's biggest marine mammal. Now 44 years since their absence, the king of the jungle is being brought back to the park. Lions are being reintroduced into the park as part of iSimangaliso's management plan to restore it to its natural splendor. It's a mammoth project.
Reintroduction of lion into the Mkuze section of iSimangaliso is a very exciting project. It's been coming about for some years, and the return of the apex predator to any natural system where you have very good established game populations is always an ideal situation. From a holistic environmental systems perspective, bringing the apex predator back into these systems is critical. One doesn't have to do things like predator simulations anymore. It's beneficial to your vulture populations, to your scavenger populations, since these apex predators do take a lot of animals that provide meat to all your scavengers. iSimangaliso Wetland Park a couple of years ago fenced the northern part of the Mkuze Game Reserve, which enabled us to make this tremendously important reintroduction of lions into the park. And it's been a long-awaited dream since 1971, 44 years ago, that the last lion was shot in Mkuze Game Reserve, to bring these lions back. And finally, within the great division of iSimangaliso, it's a very exciting development that these lions finally came back into Mkuze Game Reserve.
The addition of lions has given the park a very attractive Big 7 status. That's the Big 5 plus the great white shark and southern right whale. This is a draw card very few areas in the country can lay claim to. The lion reintroduction is being done within a very structured plan, which began a few years ago with the engagement of the community.
The initial introduction was submitted a couple of years, 2 years ago, and was approved, and there was a fairly extensive community participation project whereby we had to get the community on board to agree. Obviously, the introduction of lions also have implications on neighbouring communities. Obviously, some perceived negative benefits, but primarily we're concerned about we're more excited about the positive impacts that these will have.
Although most efforts are in line with restoring the biodiversity of the area, the impact on tourism is not being ignored.
It's known that the introduction of lions will have a 25% increase in your tourism capacity inside your protected area, which in the long run will lead to increased employment opportunities.
These lions were brought in from the nearby Temba Elephant Park.
None of these animals have any diseases, which is another advantage, and they came from within the organization. And effectively, the initial introduction involves 8 animals that were approved. We first brought in a pride of a female with 3 youngsters. That's about 18 months old, with 1 male and 2 females. And then the second group that was brought in as a 2 male coalition, 2 brothers, also from Tembe. They're in the Boma currently, and once they have been released, we will bring in another 2 females.
For now, the lions are being kept in a boma, but once they're released, the conservation team begins their real work.
The dynamics around the lions inside the bomas, once they're released, is going to be extremely interesting. Once again, iSimangaliso has made a huge contribution in putting on satellite iridium collars that will enable us to monitor the movement of these animals. And both on all the introductions, there will be animals with satellite collars. We can monitor the movement of these animals at 15-minute intervals, and obviously take it from there on. What is going to happen, we're not 100% sure. We can speculate. There will be impact. Whether these 2 males are going to go out and perhaps commit genocide with the existing pride is going to be a different issue. But once again, we're not too concerned about it, because that's the natural way, that's the way things go. It is an artificial situation we have here in a fairly small reserve. But on the positive side, these animals came from the same reserve, so they will be familiar with each other. And we're just hoping for the best. And in the natural world, that is what would happen if you bring in males into, or 2 clans would get together. They will compete, and sometimes there will be a bit of genocide as well.
Other than the fascinating reintroduction of this big cat, Mkuze is a birder's haven. It has over 400 species of the avian variation, and there are some great bird hides overlooking the many watering holes. Close to the Nsumo Pan watering hole is this well-kept picnic site. On the water's edge, you can take in the spectacular views over a few sandwiches. The ancient Mkuze fig forest is considered one of the most fascinating parts of the game reserve. The only unspoiled fig forest in the world, here you can see the 12-meter in circumference sycamore fig trees. The trees bear fruit all year round, which makes them very attractive to insect and bird life. Considering that it's a significant drive to get to Mkuze, staying the night is highly recommended. Within the game reserve there are 8 fully equipped safari tents, 17 self-catering cottages and 60 campsites. With so much to offer, Mkuze Game Reserve is not just for nature lovers. As a part of a World Heritage Site, it's an area of the country that you would be amiss for not exploring.